Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Magnay Howell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Warrant Officer Dax Moore. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Vice Admiral Carl Thomas, Deputy Chief of Naval Operations Information Warfare, United States of America, accompanied by Rear Admiral Stephen Hughes, Head of Navy Capability, Royal Australian Navy, and their accompanying delegation. We also warmly welcome Wing Commander Dr. Marianne Whiting, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Billanook College visiting from Mooroolbark, Victoria. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Robert Magnay Howell. Robert Howell was born on the 26th of August 1924 in the town of Bright, Victoria, to Clifton and Olive Howell. He had an older brother, Ronald, and two older sisters, Joan and Roma. Their father was a blacksmith and a railway employee. Robert attended Bright High Elementary School and was an excellent student. He received first-class passes in 7 out of 9 subjects in his intermediate certificate and was awarded a government scholarship. After leaving school, he worked as a bank clerk for the State Savings Bank of Victoria. On the 1st of January 1943, at the age of 18, Howell enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force. He was trained as a wireless operator and air gunner, and by November that year, he had been made sergeant. Howell embarked for overseas service from Sydney on the 12th of December 1943, arriving in the UK at the end of January 1944. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners and flight engineers who joined Australian and British squadrons in Britain throughout the course of the war. Further specialist training followed in England, and in May 1944, Howell was promoted to Flight Sergeant. On the 17th of November 1944, he was posted to number 463 Squadron, RAF. As part of Bomber Command, the squadron flew the 4-engined Avro Lancaster heavy bomber. On the afternoon of the 4th of December 1944, Bomber Command launched a major bombing raid on the railway lines at Heilbronn in Germany. Flight Sergeant Howell was a wireless operator and air gunner on board his Lancaster, which took off from the Royal Air Force Base at Waddington shortly before 4:30 p.m. In the raid, some 7,000 people were killed and the built-up area was destroyed. Howell's aircraft had completed its mission and was on its way back from the target when it crashed, without warning, into a mountainside in Alsace, 160 kilometres southwest of the target and just over the French border. Amazingly, there was one survivor, Flight Sergeant Lowell Cheeseman, who was found the following day and taken to an American hospital in France. Those killed in the crash with Flight Sergeant Robert Howell were fellow Australians, Flying Officer Jocelyn Waring and Flight Sergeants John Brosnan, George Groves and Robert Templeton, along with British Sergeant John Smith. They were buried at the military cemetery in Hochfelden, 40 kilometres northeast of the crash site. After the war, the remains of Commonwealth servicemen buried in Europe were examined and identified where possible. Howell's body was identified by his discs, and he and his crew were interred at the French military cemetery at Charleroi. Robert Howell rests there under the inscription, "His duty nobly done." He was 20 years old. Howell's family placed memorial notices in the newspaper after his death. His mother had died 9 months earlier, and a plaque was placed on her grave to honour her son, along with the epitaph, "Till the morn." His brother Ronald served with the 2nd Australian Imperial Force in the 7th Base Postal Unit. He survived the war. Flight Sergeant Robert Howell's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, alongside almost 40,000 Australians who died during the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Robert Magnay Howell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor their years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember. Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.